me like, what kind of Asian am I? I felt like I started thinking about it from like day one of you like asking me to be part of this episode, and I still haven't figured out. But I think, but just like after listening to like all of your other like guest episodes, I was just thinking, I felt like I wasn't as fancy like as what you described, but I was just like a very ordinary Asian, just living her everyday life. But some people are good at certain things, and it just happened that like my forte is in language teaching and my forte is in Cantonese teaching, and I just very much love to share that part of me to like the people I know, and now the people I don't know. So yeah, I think that's just nothing too fancy like what you described, but I was flattered.
請勿靠近車門，請不要靠近車門。Please stand back from the doors.
It just makes me like so happy, and I have this student who like never did her homework. Like I knew, like I assigned homework and she never studied, never did her homework. And at first I was like a little disappointed. I think it's very inevitable. Like you feel like, oh, I put in so much work. Like how come you like don't do anything, right? So that was like my mindset at that time. But I think one day she was like texted me and told me that, oh, her dad and her, they just had like the best moment ever where she was holding my transcript, and she was reading it off the Cantonese romanization, and the dad was reading off the Chinese characters. So they were reading together so that he could help her to better like to improve her Cantonese. And so they just bond that way. And to me, that was enough. Like you don't need to get fluent in Cantonese. I think sometimes we like look at the end result too much that we forget that actually the progress like can be fun. And I think that's what we can learn most from it. Like I just want them to enjoy learning Cantonese, and not everyone is going to learn how to write Chinese characters like who came to my class, and not everyone is going to speak fluently, and some people don't even have anyone to practice with, but they just want to do it for fun, and that's okay. So I'm to like totally encourage that to like my friends slash students.
That's great. So what you have said of like the kind of testimonial or just what you see as your students have said they accomplish, would that be like your biggest why you do what you do? And like for most part, you did those classes initially like just as for friends, so it's not technically charging or like having it as a job. No. So when did that become where you began teaching Chinese classes in terms of Mandarin, Cantonese, and Cantonese specifically? Like what was the switch that made you feel like, oh, this is a career that I need to take now?
Yeah, totally. So when I was in college, when I have this group thing, which is like an hour and a half, it was like totally free until someone else in this city, and she used to own a preschool. Her name is Yobi Chu, Qiu, and she does like a lot of author book series if you ever want to like learn about her. And she's so nice about letting me use her space to teach my class, because I told her I was so worried at each week that I wouldn't get enough tables at the cafe. Like I wish just like I didn't ask her for a space. I didn't know she has the space. I just like telling her my thoughts, and she was very kind to offer me the space. And once we got into the space, and she was teaching me, sort of mentoring me a few things here and there, and she told me that maybe you can like not charge, but let's say make it donation based, so that you can use those donations on a bigger cause that you want to contribute to. And so at that time, that was World Vision that we like contribute to. And we just wanted to gather together, and then not just learn Cantonese, but also to make some kind of contribution, or just make any like impact. I don't know, like we're in college, what do we know? And I just like gathered them together, we make it donation based, and that was that. And then I also had my my private tutoring sessions where I have my actual students who were learning Cantonese one-on-one with me each week. So that was when I do a little tutoring, but that was just like for a side income. I would never think that I would do this full time. Like I never knew that you could. So but then I think in even after college, after I started working, InspirLang was always my part-time thing that I did for fun. Like I have my work, but then I want to do something that's different from my work. So I was doing that all the way until last year, September. So it was actually the time I'm full-time working on InspirLang, and you know, uh it's actually shorter, much shorter than what everyone thinks, just because I was in Cantonese for so long as a college student that everyone forgot that like I just graduated not so long ago. So that's when I last year September when I actually switched to full time. I didn't know that. Like I think a big concern that I had before was whether I can actually make a living out of it. I think everyone would think that, right? Like, it's when you have a full-time job, there's so much, you have healthcare, you have like a lots of stability, you have everything is very secured. But when you try to create something on your own and you're not sure, like no one did it and came back and tell me, Jade, you can do this. Like teaching Cantonese full time, create your own material definitely will help you to build a successful career. No one like would tell me that. So and it wasn't something. And then going to, because I went to business school, and that's not something that like people would encourage me to do. Yeah, you should just become a teacher after you you get your degree. Like no one would tell me that. So I just I don't know. I just loved it. And then I figured this is the chance because of the pandemic, definitely. So there are lots of things I got out from the pandemic. And because I used to teach in a college. And at that time, we, from last year, March, which was March 2020, we switched to online classes. And then in a week. And then none of us thought we were equipped to do that, but we did it. So I thought, yeah, maybe I can bring InspirLang online too. So it was totally a after pandemic thing that I did with my InspirLang classes. And I want to encourage other people who, like whoever, interested in doing this and who felt insecure. I think we just have to play around with the idea and just experiment on different things and see what makes it possible. And like, I mean, frankly, during this journey, I have to discard a lot of ideas I liked. Just but then I kept a lot. I went to like see mentors, and they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't keep those. You shouldn't keep those. You couldn't keep those." They're like, "Oh, don't keep all of that." So, but I still kept the most part that I really liked, even though it wasn't like very profitable. So, I mean, I just just you do you, and you if that's something what you want to do, just try and experiment on it. And especially in college, or I guess right after college, that's like the time when we can take risk, like the most risk. So I would definitely encourage if anyone like who's listening to this podcast and want to get started on this journey of whatever you've been thinking about.
That's amazing. I wouldn't have known that it was like a pandemic thing because I just thought, oh, you've been always just doing this kind of teaching thing. So I thought you were just kind of full time doing like tutoring or whatever it may be. But I didn't realize it was not really a full time thing till like last year. And seeing how much you do, because you do a lot of different things in addition to just teaching students yourself, and you have a team as well now that also teaches classes under the brand. So can you just quickly go through all the stuff that encompass your brand InspirLang, and like because you got content, you got books, you got like teaching, tutoring, all that stuff, but it's hard to kind of pinpoint everything that you do by me doing it. So can you just do it your own kind of list out all the things that you do on a day-to-day basis on the different things that you have that you're generating revenues from or not relating to just language teaching?
Everyone got enough bandwidth for the next hour. Okay, so I'll do it. I'll do it very briefly. So I think classes is definitely like a huge thing of what I do right now, but that's also something I'm trying to retire from so that I can have other teachers to teach more, and I can work more on the curriculum building and writing stuff for other teachers to teach. I can show you, like, of course I brought it with me. So I like, this is like, these are not for sale also, but like these are like textbooks that I wrote up for. I mean, I intended to have like 4 of these, and I wrote 2 so far, and I'm exhausted. So, and that's because I am writing, and teaching at the same time. So that's why I need like a bigger team. And for the most part, actually, I knew these teachers. I mean, some of them I actually like, I posted to hire teachers, but that's like just one of them. But like most part of it, I like just knew friends who knew other friends. It was just like mainly networking, and also just because now I'm at a place where people can find me, like instead of I have to like go out and find. I mean, I still have to do that, but like I think what I in college, especially when I did my first book, is I didn't have like, I mean, I don't know anything about publishing. I will put it that way. I didn't know anything. And so what I did was I just asked around. I just asked. And so in college, there was so many resources that students don't use. And I loved making use of them. Making my tuition worth it. So I went and, I asked, like, we have attorneys. I asked an attorney about copyrights and publishing. We have like business center, and asked them how to do like self-publishing, let's say. And, they would tell me like, oh, what I need. And I figured the next moment what I need was people. Like I could either do all of it myself, or which is going to be, what I was good at was just teaching, or like maybe just write the writing part, but not everything else. I couldn't do illustration. I couldn't do designing. I couldn't do my own editing. I couldn't do like everything else in the book. That's not writing. So, so for that reason, I don't know. I just knew friends who were good at certain things. I just like reached out to them and see if they were interested. I think I give you one example that's very funny, is that I have this friend that I took like I think it's like C++ class together. And so we would need our computer. And when she opened her computer, and it was just like the prettiest theme or design I've ever seen. And that just like sticked in my mind for like a long time. And when I was looking for someone I was at a writing center at my college. And so and the teachers, the advisors, they would tell me, oh, maybe you need to consider using InDesign to design the layouts instead of using Word. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So I went home and like I looked it up, and I was like, I tried to learn it, and it took me like a couple hours to just like just like know what each button is at. Well, not even just like to know how to do basic thing. And I told myself I can either learn this and do it myself and do a very horrible job, or I can have someone who's more professional and do it. So I just remember this friend, who had a very beautiful computer screen. And I just asked her, do you know anyone who know how to like who knows how to design booklets or use InDesign? And she was just like, oh, I know how to do that. So immediately we were like, okay, do you want to design my book? Okay, yeah, sure. It was just like that. And I didn't have to like go out and like find and like talk to every people. But I guess I was also very lucky. And I feel like everyone, we see a friend, and a lot of time we only see them as like, oh, what they study or like what we see they are. But there are always these subtle things that we didn't see in them, and if I don't notice the screen, I would have missed a great opportunity to connect with her and also to make my books possible. She designed 3 books for me, and everything else that's related to designing, she did it for me. And so she was amazing. So that's how I, like how the team sort of just kind of expanded. And I would meet people, and I feel like I try to see like what they're best at, like what they're talented at. And, like I feel like, and especially when I started having friends who got laid off during the pandemic, I'm like, I need to make these books faster so that I can have jobs for them, and that's what I want to do the most. I don't want to, like be in myself and just do a business that like I was a huge part. I mean, of course, I was a huge part of it. I don't want myself to be like the main focus of it. I want it to be something that like my friends can join and, and share the joy that I have and, to contribute to like the impacts that we both care. So I wanted to have that. And that's why, um, having a team is so important for me, and it was essential for me for InspirLang to grow as well, for everything else to become possible.
All right. So you mentioned about the team. So as a result, you got the tuition or tutoring going on, and also the
Hmm.
books side of things. But
Hmm.
you also got other things as well that's part of the brand. Can you just talk about it? I think there's a podcast. There's you creating content on YouTube, and a lot
Oh,
of other
right.
things as well.
Right, I forgot. So right, I'll start with podcasting. I have like too many podcasts. So one of them that like audiences from this podcast might be most interested about would be like, learn Cantonese daily, learn Mandarin daily, learn Taiwanese daily, Cantonese diaspora. What else? I have like so many. I have like a Cantonese, like learn Cantonese through the Bible. I like just have so every time I thought about something, I just want to like, get a podcast on it. But just funny. I would also teach how to sing Cantonese songs. Just like very interestingly enough. I think people haven't gotten bored of it. So like, and some of my friends said that was crazy to have like 200 episodes of the Cantonese Learning Cantonese podcast. And I mean, I try to update them as often as I can, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. Also because of the new book launch, and I'm hoping that with the bigger team, I can, right now I have someone to help me. I do my on social media. I update, drilling questions every day, but I still need more help. So hopefully, with more teachers and a bigger team to help me with to do like all these little things, I'll be able to uh update videos more often, update podcasts more often, like an actual timeline that I want to update them on. And, in terms of the videos, it's so weird to say that I was a video creator. I like, I felt like, no, I felt like it's, nah, it's, I did some videos so that people can see my teaching style. And these days I do more Taiwanese videos, just because I see there was a bigger need. And I so wish that there are more other Taiwanese content creators or like video creators who can, make videos to teach, not just to teach Taiwanese, but to share Taiwanese that they know. And so, did I miss anything? So that I do. Also, the books, the podcast, and like the
Your language
videos.
blog as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So I try to update. I want to update these more often. But the language blog, it's more like because writing is still my forte because just like everyone has like some people are better at video creating, and so my forte is in writing, and I want to put that out, and because I can write that faster and update it more often. And I try, but for my Chinese blogs, I wanted to, to show both Cantonese, Mandarin, and Taiwanese. And a really big reason is that I know I have a lot of Cantonese speaking friends who want to learn Mandarin. And so, or students who know Taiwanese and they want to learn Cantonese, or they want to see what the differences are because they thought they were speaking Cantonese their whole life and actually they were speaking Taiwanese. So, I have these like friends who inspired me to do these things. And so the language blog hopefully is helpful for people. And journaling has been like a very, very personal and very intimate part of my own like growth. So I want to, and I'm sure that, I mean, just like language learning in general, writing, journaling is a great habit to have. So I want to encourage like students to do that too if they want to. So that's what I do. Hope I don't miss anything. I
You
also
do a
did a little
lot.
bit of like podcast interviews like you do, but I do it in Cantonese. So one day maybe you come on and like we will test you, not test.
No,
We will. Did I say that out
I'll
loud?
love to go on. I don't mind. It'll be nice to talk to you.
Right, right. So we'll do like Cantonese. Yeah. So that's
But
what
yeah,
I do.
you do so many things, and you're doing quite well at it, and you have built a great team and all this stuff. And seems like it's a business that you can
Thank
do
you.
as a thing where no, you don't have to worry too much about, oh, is it gonna make a living? Because so far it seems like you're off to a great start. And I think my biggest question is because if it's thinking about business wise, you're doing so many things, but you can scale down. What I mean by scale down is focusing on those most kind of profitable kind of thing, which is no focusing more on Mandarin content only and pursuing that because learning Chinese specific Mandarin is a way bigger market than Cantonese and Taiwanese combined
Right.
without a doubt.
Right.
But why are
Right.
you so passionate, so like, oh, I don't care, I'm gonna just still do Cantonese content and Taiwanese content? Because as a business person, I know you would probably be like, oh, they are making money, but if I'm able to focus more of my time on just Mandarin specific content, I can
Mhm.
bring my brand or my business even further. So why is it that you're still focusing on those things? Because I see you focusing on Cantonese and Taiwanese stuff just as much as you do with the Mandarin. Actually, I see Mandarin content less, actually, to be honest. So why is that?
Yes. I think I guess like I would start from like the name of InspirLang. I never, I didn't want to make it like Jay's Cantonese. Like that was, even like years ago I knew I didn't want to make it me and I didn't want to make it Cantonese. I didn't want to make it Chinese perhaps. Maybe cuz I think in my head I was like, what you can do, why just Cantonese, right? You can do Korean, you can do Vietnamese, other endangered Asian languages, and that's why I never like so in InspirLang, it's more I don't know if you say neutral, but it's very approachable and easy to scale when once you get bigger, right? And then as I started, and like right now, and when I'm doing Cantonese, I could have done Mandarin as well. I mean, I actually did like some Mandarin classes, and um, I didn't because I never got as much request to do Mandarin. I feel like that's such a straightforward reason. And then, for example, Taiwanese, I would never think about teaching Taiwanese if not because I saw people wanted to learn it. So at first, I was teaching my cousin actually Taiwanese. So she actually doesn't speak any Taiwanese other than maybe like how about like I'm full, yeah, papa for like grandma, and and I know that one day we were sitting together. She lives in Michigan, that's why like we don't see each other very often. And we sat together. I tried to teach her phrases here and there, and she was interested to learn it. And that was when I first created a podcast to teach Taiwanese. I started from Taiwanese because so now like you can understand better of like why I want to do smaller dialects. I because she wants to learn it. So I want to teach her. And also because there's nowhere else in the world to learn it. So I figured that if I can do it, why don't I just like teach her that? So that's how I started. And then until also after the pandemic, some like a student reached out to me and asked me if I do can Taiwanese classes. I'm like, no, like how would I know how to teach Taiwanese? I mean, I speak it fluently at home, but like I don't know how to teach that. Like, I mean, it was similar, and luckily the structure and everything it was similar enough to Cantonese that I can pick it up to how to teach it. But before then, I didn't know. But I mainly saw that there was a need for it, and there wasn't any supply. Was that a good word? It's like I felt like I'm talking about like a business chain, but like and no one was teaching it. So that's why I wanted to teach it. And for Mandarin, there's so many Mandarin teachers out there. Like, I mean, students are not gonna have such a difficult time to find a Mandarin teachers, and they can, it's just, they can, I'm why would I do something that like you can find so many other people are doing. So, and then when I do Taiwanese, people appreciate it. They can't find it anywhere else. And as for Cantonese, like I said before, like when I first started, there were like nothing, like no resources. Now, actually, it's a totally different picture, and I see like much younger content creators are starting to like come out and like do more, Cantonese learning, Cantonese blogging, vlogging stuff. And it was really such a great thing to see. And to see that, like it's not just like videos from 10 years ago that teach Cantonese. So I mean, some of my videos are 6 years old anyways, but but yeah, just to see that makes me so happy. And like, and always like just try to network with them. Not all of them respond, but I always try to network with them. I'm like, I saw your stuff and I really love it. And that was like truly, I wouldn't have said that if I don't. But so I told them, this is so great, and we need to get them some one day. So something like that. So that's when how I didn't want to like, I mean, Mandarin is something that I wanted to do in the future, but it was not my priority right now. Like, just like I can do Korean in the future, I can do Vietnamese in the future. Not that I speak it like well, but if we do, expand and, have other teachers on board who can speak that, I'm very happy to offer those options as well. But just for now, I'm still like a small team. So I'll just do what we're best at, and we'll just prioritize what we care most about for now. Yeah.
It's really great to hear, especially because Cantonese, Taiwanese, they are the type of languages that there is a demand for it, but then a lot of people would choose not to provide the supply for it just because they see the
Right.
market. And for you to be like,
Right.
I understand there's a market for Mandarin that's way bigger, but then there's already a demand, a supply for it. I don't need to be another person in it just because, I want to like, reach out to more people, but you're like catering to the crowd that really wants it, needs it, and appreciate it. And you're doing a great job
Yeah.
at it, and you're inspiring a lot of people to like
Thank
continue
you.
with it. Like, because I think a huge portion of people would easily give up when they see, oh, there's no content for them to
Right.
look to and all that stuff. And you're being one of the bigger driving forces, at least how I see it, is like for the Asian diaspora, because anytime I talk about anything Chinese or specifically Cantonese, it's like, oh, InspirLang. Like, literally, I had an episode where I interviewed someone talking about Cantonese, and a person would be like, oh, you should talk to Jade or something like that. And it's like, oh, and then that's how
Oh my
you got
God.
into like, or at least I got into your radar, and vice versa in terms of like, oh, potentially having this conversation, or else this would have
Yeah.
happened. So it's like,
Exactly.
and my
But
question
yeah.
also is now like, of like, say, just without thinking of like money or anything like that, which one do you
Mhm.
enjoy teaching more, Mandarin, Cantonese, or Taiwanese?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I feel like, okay, if my Cantonese teacher hear this, or my Taiwanese students hear this, or Mandarin teachers hear this, they're not gonna like it. But I would tell you that, okay, sorry, because I like teared up before this after. I think I I do enjoy teaching. No. I do enjoy teaching Taiwanese the most at this particular moment. Why? I think it's not. I mean, it has to do with the language itself, but I think it mostly because I see the thirsty eyes in in my students, because they waited their whole life to learn Taiwanese. It's something that they want to learn for just so long. Growing up, they were desperate to speak to their parents, but they were not able to do so. I mean, they could speak a little bit, or like, but anyways, they're just not like fluently in Taiwanese, or just not at all. Some like like my cousin. So who was just not at all being able to communicate, especially to their grandparents, let's say. And but then it doesn't mean that the grandparents weren't showing them love. So for that reason, I think I see lots of regrets in my students also, like that they regret, oh, that I did not learn Taiwanese from my grandparents, and now like my grandma or whoever, it's like the last person in the entire tribe that can speak this dialect, and she's 90, and if I don't learn it now, then I never have a chance to, to speak to her in that dialect, and if they want to know their grandparents more. So for that reason, I like I like love to teach Taiwanese, because I just see like they finally found something that they were like looking for their whole life, and now they finally have something, and it's just, they were so happy to be in the class, or not to see me but like also to see other students who were just like them, and who, like grew up in different cities in the States, but had similar feelings and, experiences growing up, and they were learning it for the same reason. They want to talk to their families. I mean, I have also have other students who wanted to learn to speak to their in-laws, so that's a different story, right? But I have all these students who like waited for their whole life to do it. I do have this like high school student who like joined my class, and I didn't know that she was in high school until very like, I mean, later on, that we like asking questions. And I think it just made me so happy. Like when I was in high school, I like just want to finish my homework and or not finish my homework and call it a day, right? And then you have, this student, like this high school student who, desperately looked online and tried to find some classes so that she can speak the language that, her family spoke 4 generations ago. So yeah, so you can't blame me for liking to teach Taiwanese the
I get
most. But
it.
yeah,
And
but obviously I love Cantonese, and that's why I'm still here and like teaching and focusing on Cantonese. So
that's great though. It's very nice for you to continue doing what you're doing. And I think from this whole conversation, I can see like your main thing is to help people have less regrets with their families, or like by using what you can do or your skills to help them have less regrets in regards to not being able to speak to their family and all that stuff. And I think that's great. You're helping a lot of Asian diaspora deal with one of the biggest things that they probably deal with it in terms of our identity, which is the language part. So I thank you for them, because you're doing a lot of good work. And it's it's truly like talking to people like you, like I feel really like happy, because for me is like it's really sad to see how Cantonese and also a lot of Taiwanese and such other our languages in Chinese family groups are kind of getting less and less prominent, just because of like Mandarin being so powerful and so much like widespread. But it's like these languages still matter, and we need people like you to help it continue on, especially in the Asian diaspora. And we've been having such a great conversation, and I really enjoy our time speaking to one another. I learned so much, but I really want to talk to you before we go about your new book. Can you just let us know,
yes,
the
please.
audience know
I'm
about the new
all
book?
for it. Right. Okay. You want to see it? Okay. Yes. So yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a new release that I have for Learn to Speak Cantonese too. And I have the this is how book one look like. But so this is supposedly a sequel for the book one, but I created a different storyline for it. And so the idea comes from, okay, I'll tell you like very briefly, that it's about this polar bear who's named Ben, and he suffered a lot from global warming, and he was very sad, and he had this great friend who's a dog whose name is Stormy, who grew up in a Cantonese family, so he spoke Cantonese. Okay, so this is still an adult learning book, even though it had like 2 animal characters. So for that reason, after suffering from global warming, he decided to go to Hong Kong to promote green living. and just environmental sustainability in general. And that's how he needs to use Cantonese. So like, so throughout the book, Ben would be the narrator to teach us. Let me just try to flip through some stuff and like, like there are some, what is this, sample sentences, and then, him explaining some grammar stuff and, more some illustrations and some practices. This is like reviews and practices. So yeah, so this is a book of his journey for a year in Hong Kong and teaching. And then he was teaching environmental sustainability, but the book teaches you Cantonese. That's what it's about. And I had this idea because I think just as a like a citizen, I'm just like so concerned of our, that of our planet, that it was that because of our like climate change and our not so environmental conscious behaviors, it was going to destroy our planet very soon and for our future generations. And obviously I might not live long enough to see that, but I feel like my future generations will suffer so much from the dangerous and harmful behaviors that we do. And so for that reason, I wanted to, I mean, I was going to teach Cantonese anyways, and I could write different topics and just thought to myself, whoa, why don't I write something that I actually care about? So this is a cause that I would like really want to contribute to. And so that's why like I was, I was telling my readers, and if they get, I mean, it just, well, the official launch date is actually in 2 days, but I've been preparing to ship the book, and once I have it, I'm gonna start shipping out. And I told my readers that if you get it on my website, I will donate like 30% of my royalties to different environmental and animal conservation organizations. But I just mentioned one of them that I really like, and that would be Air Miner, which helps to reduce carbon from the air. How exactly? I think they also plant trees, but they do like a whole lot of stuff that I couldn't explain, but I knew they're doing good stuff. But I also have like other organizations that really like that was part of this, but yeah, the reducing carbon would be something that like I'm all for. And I mean, throughout this book there are other concepts like that saves energies, and like, oh, don't use plastic bag, and I guess like use reusable straws and utensils. So these are things that you'll learn throughout the book, and in addition to like renting an apartment in Hong Kong. But from renting I would stretch it to like, why do people do laundry hanging I mean in Asia, and what does that do anything to the environment? Like, how does that compare to what we do in the States? So yeah, just like, okay, did I talk too much? Yeah, that's my new
Keep
book.
Yeah, and people
That's the new
listening,
book. Yes.
please support it. Go get it. I'm sure you will
Yes.
learn a lot from the book. And yeah, I think thank you so much for writing it and like doing all that you do. And yes, go support the book, and you can find it online, right? Online at
Right,
your
on
website.
InspirLang.com.
Yeah, and then are there specific stores in New York in New York City that you can go get it as well, since you're based there? So I'm sure you will have some sort of distribution at bookstores there.
Yes. Oh, so right now I will have it available at Eastern Bookstore, and I would talk with like a couple more other like bookstores to have it available on the shelf. So, but right now it's my website InspirLang.com, and Eastern Bookstore in New York would have it in Chinatown.
And on that note, it's been such a great conversation. But before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you kind of like 5 more questions, the short ones that, you can answer however you like, however you feel like, especially if it's something that, just first thing you can think of. All right. So the first thing would be, why is your Cantonese, Thai Chinese culture important to you?
You said it was short questions. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I guess I would share. I guess I would briefly share like why Chinese in general. I feel like Cantonese, Chinese. As a kid, my grandpa specifically, he was just like a scholar. And he would always want to teach me calligraphy, let's say. And I never learned it. And I was just like, ugh, I'm too busy. Ugh, it's the summer. I want to like hang out with friends and I don't want to learn calligraphy. And I guess after he passed away, and I realized I wanted to learn calligraphy now. And when I did, I like tried so hard to find a teacher. And when I found a teacher, I looked to him like, oh, I mean, it might take me 20 years to get good at this, but every day when I practice a little bit, it feels like I'm closer to him. And so for that reason, that's why Taiwanese and Cantonese were so important to me. And because they were just things that language that I grow up with and that I want to, and I see the need in other students also. So like when I think about them, so for me, it's like not knowing calligraphy makes me like feel like I lack something, but like I know for other students, not knowing Chinese, it's like make them feel like they were not they were not like a complete um puzzle of the family. So for that reason, that's why it's very important for me. And also like it's like a very funny reason. I just love TVB dramas growing up. I don't watch any new ones these days, but growing up I always loved it. And also I had no siblings, so because of the one child policy. So I think like I just grew up with TV. So it was my great buddy growing up. So that's why I love Cantonese. And I only been to Hong Kong like a few times, but I like know so much about Hong Kong, but they were all like from TV dramas, TV shows I watched. And like I would like tell you every celebrity, Hong Kong celebrity. And that's why, it's so heavy on me when like I knew about, like the politics and all kinds of changes that are happening in Hong Kong these days. But I would not go into that. But that's why it's very important to me.
Yeah, great answer. And but the second one would be, what is your most favorite part of what you do now? And that one thing that you hate the most about what you have to do now for your career?
Oh, one thing I hate the most? Or
Yeah.
wait, what
Or
did you
like,
say about?
yeah. One thing you really
Oh,
like, your favorite part, and one thing you don't like.
oh, 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 oh. I guess like honestly, I think my favorite part right now is having the flexibility to do what I like to do. And I don't have to, I guess like it was just the pros and cons of this. No one tells me what to do. And right now, like I don't have a boss, like, okay, you have to do this on a certain deadline, but rather I set myself deadlines. So it's very flexible and I have full control of what I want to write about. And I don't have to write about something I didn't care about, And that's something as if you work as, an editor, if you work as, I don't know, like a writer, it's very inevitably that you have to write something that you don't like, or that doesn't have to be you don't like, but just something you're not as interested in. But for what I do right now, I have the freedom and flexibility to always just pick what I want to write most, what I want to do most. And it's just funny enough, when I did my first Cantonese book, I had this determination that like I want to write this now. Like I would die if I don't write it now. So that was like the determination I have, but that also I have to have so much freedom to in order to do that. But like what I don't like most about this part is that also the same reason, like no one tells me what to do. Like I so wish that someone can tell me, okay, Jade, you know what's best is do this way you won't fail. And try to do next week, maybe you need like better time management skills, and for next week please do that. No one tells me like how to work out these things. And I guess like a very realistic problem is, how do you monetize like I mean, right now I have like products that can help me to like, to make a living, but like before, like, I mean, I don't know what to do with this. I just experiment. I just try everything I can. And like the podcast, they don't make any money. It's fine. I still love it. I still do it. And then the books, they make money. It's good. That's even better. I mean, I still write it. So it's not like something is not like monetizing and then I stop doing. I mean, I still do it, but it's just fun to experiment so many things. And then you eventually find out what works and what doesn't. And but yeah, that's what I like and don't like about it. Too much
Really
freedom,
cool.
but then yeah.
And the next question is, other than InspirLang, where else can people learn Cantonese or Taiwanese or anywhere? Like, what are your recommendations?
I did make a video
Mm-hmm.
about Cantonese resources recently, meaning like last month or 2 months ago. But yeah, I have like like a list of resources for people to go with, and depending on their level, they're like whether they're like a visual learner, like if they're like other kinds of learners. So I know you're gonna get on. I'm gonna do a great segue because I know you're gonna interview Brittany from Cantonese with Brittany. So I'll throw that out there. It was like a great, video, um, a video channel for people to just, mm, has a little bit of learning and it has more like casual conversations. So that I recommend. And also, I'm just throwing out like free resources here right now. So like, I also really like the Hambalang series. I don't know if you heard of. It spells like HAM or HAAM and BANGLANG. But yeah, as long as you type that in, you'll find something. And it's an organization in Hong Kong that they wanted to help. It's very different population they're serving, but they're serving like
The
more
ethnic minorities of Hong
Filipino,
Kong.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So like Filipinos and other other people who serve in Hong Kong, and they were looking for free resources so that they can. It's almost like a ESL class for us in the States, but it was like a Cantonese class for those people in Hong Kong. So I do really like the mission and what they do. I mean, there's so many other, and nowadays there are like so many new resources coming out. So no more excuse to
Mm-hmm.
not learn
Yeah.
Cantonese. But as in terms from Taiwanese, it's a little bit harder. And I have a feeling that now that I get on it, more people, I hope, and I think more younger like generations will start generating like Taiwanese learning material online. And I want them to look at it as like it's not a village dialect, please. I
Mm-hmm.
like never like lived in a village. So I just like so hope that like people would like just get rid of this misconception of that, oh, it's a village dialect, I don't want to learn it and it's not cool. Okay, it can be really cool. I
Mm-hmm.
speak it. So and I teach it, so I think just it's just like other dialects. And I think I just want especially like native speakers to get rid of this misconception, because other people look at them as role models. If you yourself you don't even preserve your own culture and language, who else would care for it, right? So just to encourage people to like, yeah, it's just like respect it just like how you would respect any other dialects of
Mm-hmm.
the world, and especially now it is endangered.
Yeah. And the next question is, Zoom classes or face-to-face classes?
Great question. Okay, so we do have both. So, well, right now is mostly Zoom because I started during a pandemic, and and that's how I found out that so many students from I can teach students on the West Coast and some people in the Midwest and some a lot from New York, and so that we're definitely going to keep. Um, and especially there are students who live in areas where Cantonese classes aren't so accessible, But I mean, in general, Zoom classes are convenient for people to log on. So that was the pros of Zoom classes. But on the other hand, you would know that there are some things that you sacrifice for convenience, right? When I was in a real classroom, and right now you just see like my upper body. But like in a classroom, I can do much more like body languages or any other teacher could do. And then it's just face-to-face interactions with other students and the students themselves. I feel like it's not much about me, but like I just talk the same thing. But like the students can interact with each other more, and I don't have to intentionally create opportunities for them to talk online, but rather they are there, before I came to class. They can, talk to each other
More
again,
natural interactions, less force.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So they can, they can connect with each other and practice through that way. And but in terms of in-person class, I will definitely have it. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to like see another office in New York that I think I'm going to finalize. So after that, we will also have in-person classes. But I do think that the online is still going to be the bigger one.
Thank you so much for this conversation. And for people that are listening and watching, where can they find you?
Oh, okay. So right now I just have like 3 official social media accounts. So Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you find InspirLang, you would be able to find me through all of them. And I feel like Instagram would be the most direct way if you want to DM me with, I don't know, questions or
Mhm.
appreciations.
Yeah.
So that is most direct. And then my website, InspirLang.com. So you can't go wrong with InspirLang because I
Mhm.
purposely pick a name that no one else was using. So
That's awesome. And make sure to check out your
Thank
YouTube
you.
channel as well, right?
Thank you. Oh yes. Always forget about it. But yes, thank you for the shout out. But yes, definitely check out YouTube channel as well. But I also recently created a new one called Taishanese Stories with Jade. So that way I can just have all my Taishanese contents go there also.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then the
Those are the
podcast would be the main one that you
just
do, kind of
search
just search Jade's name and it will pop
InspirLang.
up. Yeah.
No, just InspirLang, and then a couple options will come up. But depends on what you want to learn, right? If you want to learn Cantonese, then learn Cantonese daily, learn Cantonese songs daily, learn Cantonese through the Bible. And I know there's one more, Cantonese diaspora that I just started.
Mhm.
Those 4 for Cantonese. And then learn Mandarin daily and learn Taishanese daily. Those are the
Really
other.
good stuff. There is something for everyone, so make sure to check it out. And if you like what you heard on this podcast and you want to keep supporting the podcast, you can just subscribe to the podcast and also follow Instagram at What Kind of Asian Pod. And on that note, thank you for listening, everybody, and thank you, Jade, again for doing this. And
Thank
till
you
the next
so
episode.
much, Kyle.